Alani, please. Just one night. Those were the first words out of his mouth. No hello. No, I'm sorry. No, how have you been? Just a desperate whisper from the same man who once looked me in the eye and said, "This house isn't free. You want to sleep here, you pay like everyone else." Now he was standing on my porch, in a crumpled flannel shirt, reeking of sweat, pride cracked wide open. A beaten-down man with nowhere left to turn. And all I could think was, I still remember. I didn't answer him. I couldn't.
Not yet.
Because the second I saw his face, everything inside me slammed backward, like a punch to the gut from time itself. I was 23 again, jobless,
Broke. Heartbroken.
and I remember standing at his door, clutching a garbage bag of clothes. I had just been laid off from my first job in Charlotte. Rent overdue. Bank account overdraft. No friends. No plan. Just, Dad, I just need to crash one night, I'd said, tears in my voice. One night to figure things out. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Gas ain't free. Neither is food or water. You think I'm running a shelter? That night, my own father, my flesh and blood, made me pay him $60 in cash to sleep in my childhood bedroom. The one with my high school trophies still on the shelf. The one where he used to tuck me in during thunderstorms and tell me I was safe.
He made me pay. And I did.
Then I sat on that lumpy twin bed and cried until my chest ached. Now it's 8 years later. I'm not the girl with nothing anymore. I'm 31, founder of a 6-figure branding firm, owner of this 3-bedroom condo in Midtown Atlanta. My fridge is full. My guest room is made. My doors are mine to open or close. And my father is on the outside, begging me for a place to stay. For one night. How poetic. Just one night, baby, he mumbled again, eyes darting behind me like he was already imagining himself inside. But I wasn't a baby anymore. You remember what you said to me? I asked, my voice steady, sharp. You told me this wasn't a charity.
He winced.
But didn't deny it. Of course he didn't. I didn't mean it like that, he said. I was trying to teach you something. Oh, so that's what that was? A life lesson disguised as neglect? Abandonment served up as character building? I laughed, cold, bitter, broken.
You taught me, all right.
Taught me that love has terms. That family comes with invoices. He dropped his head, and in that moment, I saw something in him I had never seen before. Not when I graduated and he didn't show up. Not when I called him on Christmas and he said he was too busy. Not even when he forgot my birthday for the 3rd year in a row. I saw shame. Why are you here, Dad? I asked. He hesitated, like the words were too heavy for his tongue. I got evicted. I've been sleeping in my car the last few days. It's been hard. He looked up, eyes glossy, lips trembling. I know I messed up, but I got nowhere else. Nowhere else. The same words I whispered to him when I was 23. And he let me sleep in my car. Tell me something, I said, voice tightening. When I begged you for one night, did it even bother you? Watching your daughter break in front of you. He didn't answer. I pressed harder. Did you sleep well that night, knowing I was parked outside a gas station, scared someone might try to break in? He still said nothing. He didn't have to. His silence was the same one I grew up with. The same silence that followed every disappointed sigh. Every ignored call. Every time I asked for love and got a lecture instead. People don't talk enough about parental betrayal. When strangers hurt you, you call it what it is, abuse. But when it's your father, your provider, your supposed protector, you call it normal. You pretend the pain is your fault. You carry it like luggage you never packed. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand. You always were strong. Stronger than me. Maybe that's why you punish me for being independent. I cut in. He swallowed. I looked him dead in the eyes. The night you made me pay rent was the night you made it clear. I wasn't your daughter. I was your tenant. The wind picked up, brushing dead leaves around our feet. He shivered, but I didn't invite him in. This wasn't cruelty. This was closure. I had spent years building something out of the ruins he left me. I gave myself everything he refused to give me. Safety, stability, unconditional care. I gave myself a home. He looked past me again, like a man craving warmth he no longer deserved. I'm not asking for forever, he said. Just one night.
To rest.
To think. The same words I said to him. The same plea he turned into a transaction. I'll think about it, I said finally, like you did. And I shut the door. But behind it, I leaned my head against the wood. Because no one ever tells you how heavy it feels to do what they did to you. It should have felt like a victory. Closing that door. Saying no, with the same coldness he once weaponized against me. It should have felt powerful. But all it did was echo. The silence after I shut him out was louder than his knock. And no matter how much I tried to distract myself, the soft hum of my air fryer, the low jazz in my kitchen, I could still hear the shuffle of his worn-out sneakers fading down the steps. It took every ounce of strength not to open that door again. But I didn't. I let him walk. Because I needed him to feel what it meant to be unwelcome, even if just for a night. By 10 p.m., I still hadn't eaten. I sat on my velvet couch, untouched takeout on the table, staring at nothing. Why was I even shaken? After everything he put me through, he didn't deserve 5 minutes, let alone a full night under my roof. But anger doesn't cancel memory, and memory doesn't erase blood.
Beastie.
My phone vibrated on the coffee table. A text from an unknown number. Alani, it's Mr. Davis from your dad's old street. I don't mean to pry, but he mentioned your name earlier. He's not doing well. He's sleeping behind the grocery store on Piedmont. It's not safe. Thought you should know. I blinked. Mr. Davis? The man who lived across from us when I was a kid? The same one who used to let me sit in his garage and play with his dog when my dad was in one of his moods? He must have seen him wandering. My stomach turned. I put my phone down and looked around my apartment. Polished floors. Candles burning softly. A picture of me and my college best friend, smiling on the mantel. This wasn't just a home. It was a fortress built from everything I survived. Everything he didn't protect me from. But now I had to ask myself, was shutting him out justice? Or just revenge? When I was 13, I once came home with a B- in math. I'd worked hard for it. The subject never came easy to me. I placed the report card proudly on the table, expecting some kind of praise. Instead, my father barely looked up from his beer and muttered, "Should have been an A." Then went back to watching football. No, good job. No, I'm proud of you. Just silence. As if I had failed. That night, I cried myself to sleep. Not because of the grade, but because I realized love in that house came with conditions. That night behind my locked door, I asked myself something I'd never dared to before. Had I become him? At 11:30 p.m., I couldn't sit anymore. So I got in my car, drove down Piedmont Avenue. Slow, windows cracked. And sure enough, behind the old Green Mart, there he was, curled under a cardboard flap, head propped against a milk crate, face half covered with a hoodie. I parked, sat for 5 minutes, watching, waiting, hoping maybe he'd get up and leave, so I wouldn't have to decide. But he didn't. I stepped out of the car. Dad. He stirred, slowly, like he wasn't sure if he was awake or dreaming. Then he saw me, eyes squinting under the streetlight, voice gravelly. Lonnie. I hated how my heart reacted to the nickname. The same one he used when he'd push me on swings as a kid. The same one I hadn't heard since before everything went cold. You shouldn't be out here, I said, arms folded against the night air. It's dangerous. He laughed bitterly. I've been out here 3 weeks. Ain't no more danger left to fear. That hit me. 3 weeks? I expected 3 nights. Maybe a week. Not 21 days of concrete pillows and parking lot bathrooms. I tried shelters, he added. They full. They all full. I didn't say anything. Just looked at the man who used to carry me on his shoulders. Now broken, small, buried in layers of pride and poor choices. You shouldn't have come, he whispered. I deserved that door in my face. He was right.
He did.
But hearing it, it didn't feel like victory anymore. Just sadness. He looked down at his hands. They don't stop shaking no more. I used to laugh at homeless folks. Said it'd never be me. Guess life had other plans. I stared at him, trying to connect this fragile figure with the man who used to tower over me like a shadow. The man who called me soft for crying. Who once told my mom leaving us was the best thing she ever did. You hurt me, I said, voice low. He nodded. I know. You made me beg. Like I was nothing. I know. You watched me break, and still asked for money. He looked up. I wasn't a good father, Alani. I know that. But I didn't know how to be. I was raised by a man 10 times colder than I was. I thought I was teaching you to be strong. I shook my head. You weren't making me strong. You were making me numb. Silence again. Then I said what I never thought I'd say. Come on. I'll take you home. He didn't move at first. Then he stood, slowly, painfully, like every step hurt. When we got to my place, he paused at the door. The same one I shut in his face hours ago. He didn't walk in. He just looked at it. Then looked at me. You sure? I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stepped aside.
He walked in.
And the sound of his footsteps on my hallway tile was the loudest thing I'd heard in years. The air inside my apartment felt heavier with him in it. Every room suddenly smaller. Every silence thicker. It wasn't just that my father was homeless and now sleeping under my roof. It was that my father was here. And we'd never truly talked about anything that mattered. He stood awkwardly in the entryway, like a guest waiting for permission. This is nice, he muttered, eyes scanning the white marble floors and chrome fixtures. You did good for yourself. I wanted to thank him, but it caught in my throat. Because he wasn't part of this success. He didn't celebrate the late nights, the tears, the breakdowns behind bathroom doors when everything was falling apart. He didn't build this with me. I did it despite him. You can sleep in the guest room, I said. It's down the hall. Fresh towels are in the closet. He nodded. Then, as if unsure, he asked, You sure? That question again. I didn't answer. Just turned and walked into the kitchen. The fridge door masked the sound of my heart racing. I stayed there for a while, staring into shelves of almond milk and leftover pasta, trying to find peace at the bottom of a Tupperware. I heard his footsteps fade into the guest room. He didn't close the door, just like he never used to knock when barging into mine. By midnight, I was still lying awake. Sleep evaded me, and the past kept whispering like a wind through a cracked window. I got up, walked quietly down the hallway. The guest room light was still on. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing, his old hands clutching his knees like they were keeping him anchored to this world. You hungry? I asked. He blinked, startled, then shook his head. No, just thinking. I hesitated, then stepped inside. It felt strange, like crossing a threshold I hadn't touched in years. There was a chair in the corner, and I sat in it, waiting. I used to think about this moment, he said after a while. The day I'd have to come back to you. Crawl if I had to. Why? I asked, my voice flat. Because I knew what I'd done. I knew there'd be a day I'd need you, and you'd remember everything. He glanced at me, then quickly away. I thought I had more time before life humbled me. I said nothing. Because deep down, I didn't want his guilt. I wanted the years. The birthdays missed. The graduations ignored. The nights I cried alone because he thought silence was stronger than love. You know, he continued, my father made me sleep in the basement as a kid. No bed, just a cot. He used to say, life's hard. Better you learn it now. He exhaled a brittle laugh. I thought I was breaking the cycle by not hitting you. By putting a roof over your head. But I wasn't breaking anything. I was just passing the poison down in a different cup. I stared at him, tried to see him not as the man who had hurt me, but as the broken child who had never been loved right. It was hard. You made me feel disposable, I said. One night. That's all I needed. But you looked me in the eye and saw me as a burden. He swallowed. I know. You let me cry in my car and still didn't call. I know. You've missed every important moment of my adult life. And now you're here like we're supposed to be okay. He lowered his head. I didn't know how to show up, Alani. Not for you. Not for myself. I was always running from something. Yeah, I snapped. And I was always running toward you, wanting your love, your approval, until I stopped, until I realized I'd never get it. Tears welled in my eyes, but I forced them back. You broke something in me, and I had to rebuild it from scratch. He didn't try to deny it, didn't interrupt, just sat there with his failures piled around him like ash. I don't expect forgiveness, he said quietly. I just didn't want to die with this wall still between us. You built it, I said. I know, but maybe I can help you tear it down. Even just a brick. The room fell into silence again. A silence, not of hostility, but of exhaustion. Years of unspoken words, stifled pain, and missed apologies floated in the air between us. He looked older than I remembered, weaker, but for the first time he looked human. Why didn't you ever come to my graduation? I asked suddenly. He took a shaky breath. I was ashamed. I hadn't contributed to anything. I thought showing up would make it worse. Like I was taking credit for something I didn't build. You were. But I regret it every day. I sat back. Let those words sink in. Regret was too late. But it was something. He ran a hand over his face, and his fingers trembled. I never stopped loving you, he said. But I didn't know how to show it. I thought keeping the lights on was enough. I thought being tough would prepare you for a world that didn't care. You became the very world you were trying to prepare me for, I whispered. He looked at me, eyes glassy. And then, for the first time in my life, my father said something I never thought I'd hear. I'm sorry, Alani. For everything. For failing you. For making you feel unwanted. For teaching you pain when I should have taught you peace. The tears I'd been holding back finally fell. Not because it fixed anything, but because I needed that apology for 15 years. I didn't say it's okay. Because it wasn't. But I nodded. And that was enough for now. I stood up. I'm going to bed. There's cereal in the cabinet and orange juice in the fridge. He nodded. Thank you, he said, voice small. I hesitated at the door. Then turned back. You're not staying here forever. Just until we figure out next steps. He nodded again. I understand. And for once, I believed him. That night, I didn't cry into my pillow. I lay in the quiet, not healed, not whole, but heard. And that was a start. The sun spilled into my kitchen like nothing had changed. But everything had. My father was still asleep in the guest room. At least, I assumed he was. I hadn't checked. I needed the morning to myself.
To breathe.
To process. To make peace with the fact that I'd finally heard the words I'd craved for half my life. I'm sorry. They were simple. Too simple for the damage done. But they mattered. Still, apology didn't mean amnesty. And regret wasn't the same as repair. I poured coffee into a ceramic mug. It had a quote on it. I built myself from the ground up. I bought it the day I signed the lease on this condo. That version of me, the Alani who didn't cry over the past anymore. She felt distant today. By noon, I heard movement. The creak of a bed. Soft footsteps down the hallway. He emerged looking older than yesterday. There were purple shadows under his eyes. His shirt wrinkled, hair pressed flat from sleep. Still not the man I remembered, but not a stranger anymore. Morning, he said softly. I nodded. There's food. He sat across from me at the kitchen island, hands folded like he was in church. We ate in silence, toast, eggs, and the weight of years between us. Then he cleared his throat. I was digging through the old backpack I had with me, he said slowly, and I found something I forgot I even had. He reached into the worn canvas bag he'd brought in last night, pulled out a folded, yellowed envelope. My breath caught. On the front, in delicate script I hadn't seen in decades, were the words, "For Alani, when she's old enough to understand."
Mom.
I reached for it with trembling hands, stared at it. I didn't even realize I was crying until the tear hit the paper. You knew about this? I asked, not looking up. He hesitated.
Yes.
She gave it to me the night she left. My chest constricted. She asked me to give it to you when you turn 18. I didn't.
Why?
I was angry, bitter, and I told myself it wasn't important, that she left, so she had no right to say anything else. You took this from me, I whispered, voice trembling, like you took everything else. He didn't defend himself, just nodded. I know. I got up from the counter and walked to the balcony. The morning air was cool against my face. The letter shook slightly in my grip. I unfolded it. My mother's voice, once silenced by time and distance, was suddenly right here again. My dearest Alani, if you're reading this, it means you're old enough to ask the hard questions and strong enough to live with the answers. I left not because I didn't love you. God knows I loved you more than my own breath. But I couldn't survive in that house any longer. Your father wasn't always cruel, but he was never gentle. Not with himself. And eventually not with me. He loved you in the only way he knew how. But his love was locked inside pain, and he never found the key. I tried to stay.
For you.
I begged him to let me stay in your life even if I couldn't be his wife.
But he shut the door on me. Said I was weak.
Said you'd be better without me. I hope he changes. I hope one day he sees what he buried in you. But if he doesn't, I need you to know this. None of it was your fault. You were never hard to love. You were the brightest part of my world. And I am so proud of you. I hope you remember that always. With all my love.
Mom.
I pressed the paper to my chest. My heart cracked wide open. My whole life, I thought she left because she didn't want me. Because she couldn't deal with motherhood. Because I wasn't enough. But she tried. And he shut her out. And he never told me. I turned back into the apartment. He was still sitting at the counter, hands clasped, waiting for me to finish. Like a child who knows punishment is coming. You lied to me, I said, voice thick. For years, I blamed her. For leaving. For choosing herself over me. And you let me believe it. His eyes welled with tears. I didn't know how to tell you the truth. I thought it'd make me the villain. You were the villain, I snapped. You still are. He dropped his gaze. I didn't want you to hate me. I scoffed. I already did. Silence. Then, she came to the door once, he whispered. Maybe 2 years after she left. You were at school. She begged to see you. I told her no. Why? I wanted to hurt her. And I was jealous. You always looked at her like the sun. I wanted that look for myself. But I didn't know how to earn it. So I destroyed it instead. I was trembling.
Years.
Years of unanswered questions. Years of wondering why my mother abandoned me. When the truth was, she didn't.
He did.
She died thinking I hated her, I whispered. He looked up, tears slipping down his cheeks. I'm sorry, Alani. I swear to God I'm sorry. I was a broken man. I thought I was protecting you, but I was protecting myself. From guilt. From shame. From losing control. I sank to the floor. The letter still clutched in my hand. My breath came in short, painful gasps. He came over slowly and sat beside me. Not close. Just near enough. I never stopped thinking about her, he said. And I never stopped being afraid you'd find out the truth and never forgive me. I haven't, I said. I know. But I needed this letter. I'm glad you got it. I should have given it to you years ago. You stole my chance to heal. I know. We sat there, 2 broken people in a room full of unsaid things. But now, the silence was different. Not a wall, but a crack. A possible beginning. After a long moment, I finally asked, do you think she would have forgiven you? He didn't answer right away. Then, quietly,
no.
But I think she would have prayed that you could. I looked down at the letter again. My mother's words holding me like she never got the chance to. And in that moment I realized I might never forgive him. but I could finally start forgiving myself. A week after I read my mother's letter, my father collapsed in my hallway. He'd only stood up to refill a glass of water. I heard the thud from the living room, a sharp, heavy sound that stopped my heart. When I found him, he was curled on the floor, breathing fast, face pale. His hands were gripping his side. "I'm okay," he gasped. But he wasn't. His eyes told the truth. The pain, the fear, the same silent suffering he'd carried for years. I called 911, and for the first time in decades, I was the one taking care of him. At the hospital, they said it was early-stage congestive heart failure. Not fatal, yet, but serious. The years of smoking, poor diet, and untreated stress had finally caught up with him. "Has he had regular checkups?" the nurse asked. I shook my head. My father hadn't seen a doctor in almost 8 years. Just like he hadn't seen me, not really, until he was already broken. I sat beside his hospital bed for hours.
His eyes stayed closed most of the time.
But I stayed. Because somewhere inside me, something still ached. Not for the man he was,
but for the daughter I had been.
"You shouldn't be here," he murmured once, eyes barely open. "You owe me nothing." "I know," I said. "But maybe I owe myself the closure." In the days that followed, I found myself caring for him more than I ever imagined I could. Scheduling his follow-up appointments, managing his medications, explaining the difference between low-sodium meals and the fried food he was used to.
He didn't resist.
Not anymore. Pride had left him. All that remained was a quiet gratitude that filled the space where his ego used to live. One night, we sat in my living room. The TV was playing an old Western he used to love. He was sipping chamomile tea, his new doctor-approved favorite. "I think I should go," he said suddenly. I looked up. "Go where?" "Anywhere else. A shelter, a halfway house. Somewhere you don't have to see me every day." "Why?" I asked. He looked down. "Because every time you look at me, I know you remember. And I can't live being a reminder of everything I did wrong." I was quiet for a long time. Then I said, "You don't have to go. But you do have to choose who you want to be now." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what you did to me. It doesn't disappear. But you're still here. You're still breathing. You've still got time to decide if you'll be the man who broke his daughter or the man who helped her heal." I wasn't offering forgiveness. I was offering a door. What he did with it wasn't on me. The next day, he started walking again. Only short steps at first, around the block with me beside him. Neighbors stared. Some nodded politely. Some whispered. But I walked beside him. And for the first time in years, we weren't just moving, we were facing forward. One afternoon, he asked if he could cook dinner. Said he'd been watching recipes on YouTube.
Said he wanted to do something for me.
I let him. Even stood nearby, watching him fumble with garlic cloves and nearly burn the rice. But he smiled through it. And so did I. That night, over the simplest meal of grilled chicken and overcooked vegetables, he looked me in the eyes and said, "Thank you for giving me a chance to be decent, even after I gave you every reason not to." I didn't respond right away, because the truth is, I hadn't made peace with everything. Not yet. But I could finally see the possibility of peace in the distance. A few days later, a letter arrived in my mailbox. From the legal aid office. They'd found a low-income senior housing facility willing to take him, if he wanted it. He read the letter quietly, then folded it. "I don't want to be a weight around your neck, Alani." "You're not a weight," I replied. "But you're still a wound." He nodded, understanding. He didn't ask for more than I could give. We packed his things 2 days later. All of them fit into one large suitcase and a duffel bag. It felt surreal, watching him zip up a life's worth of belongings. This man who once seemed so loud, so larger than life, now reduced to a handful of clothes, a Bible, and a photograph of me at age 6. When I dropped him off, he hugged me, tighter than I expected. Not out of desperation, but out of something gentler. Something like clarity. "You don't have to visit," he said. "I'll understand." I took a breath. "I probably will. Sometimes." That was the truth. and he accepted it. As I drove away, I didn't cry. I didn't feel triumphant or broken. I felt free. Because I had finally made peace with the past, not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by choosing not to live there anymore. People often think revenge is loud, but sometimes revenge is peace. It's success in spite of betrayal. It's kindness in the face of cruelty. It's saying no and meaning it, but still being able to say maybe when the pain softens. I don't know if my father and I will ever be close, but I do know this. I'm no longer the girl he made pay rent for one night when she was broke. I'm the woman who owns the home now. And when he knocked, I didn't slam the door. I made him remember what it felt like. Then I offered him a mirror. And that was enough.